Good morning, everybody. Taking a little walk, a little break. Always good to get the blood flowing. The blood flowing is about the most important thing that you can do. It makes your brain go faster, makes you have better thoughts, deeper thoughts. I can't stress the importance of moving around, which I've been doing a lot more lately. I went through a period where I was pretty sedentary because I'm writing a lot and I've got an office job, so I'm sitting down a lot, and I'm trying to incorporate more walking throughout my day here. So you guys can help me do that, because I need to talk or do something while I'm doing this. Otherwise, I can't handle it. But I'm trying to get more creative projects going. I know I've got a lot of creative projects already, and you guys have been super supportive, which I appreciate. But the goal is really, in a content production game, you need to keep coming out with stuff constantly. When I was first getting going with writing, at least on the professional level early this year, I started bouncing a lot of ideas off of Nick Cole, of course, because Nick Cole is extremely successful. If you look at his Galaxy's Edge, I mean, they're killing it. And they're just coming out with content so fast, it's almost unbelievable. Which, to be fair, they're very short books, and on top of that, there's 2 writers, and there's about to be 3. I guess Robert Crucy is about to start writing in that universe. But they keep coming out with the content for those worlds so fast that it almost propels itself for people tuning in virally. So I'm looking at more ways to do that. I mean, there's the blog I've got, obviously. And I mean, the blog is the blog. It doesn't get me any revenue, right? And Periscope here doesn't get me any revenue. They're just kind of side things where I can kind of communicate with people and talk to all you and kind of brainstorm like this. But at the rate I write books, I can get about 3 books out a year, maybe 4 if I'm lucky. And that's just not fast enough for the modern content game. You got to have a lot more than that. So I'm turning to comics. I'm looking at doing other things to get things done here. And it's a little difficult. I've mentioned before that comic books take a lot of capital on the art front. If you want to print them, there's a lot of capital on that. I don't really want to just do a Kickstarter every time I want to do a comic. I think that's, I don't know, it's not ideal. So I'm looking at ways to try to figure out how to get that going and how to get the revenue going so I can do that in perpetuity and come out with content a little faster. And I've mentioned before that I've had a book called Flying Sparks, which was a superhero book. It was actually the first thing I ever wrote. Yeah, Nick writes full-time and has no other day job, and that is a big difference between him and me for sure. But I don't know that I'm ever going to drop my day job, I'm not going to lie. As much as I'm doing pretty well, and you know, it'd probably take me about 2 years to get to the point where I'm probably got any semblance of a full-time revenue. I mean, I make way, I hate to say it, I make way more money doing what I'm doing than I'll ever be make out of comics or books or anything like that. It's just never going to happen. So, and I like living well, so I'm going to maintain that. But no, I want to do more. At the same time, I've just got so many ideas. I got to get them out. So that's what I'm trying to do. I looked at Flying Sparks, and I mean, the art's really good. You guys have seen a lot of preview pages as I've kind of posted them, trickled them here and there. But when I wrote that, I was not professional quality as a writer. I think the story's all right, the kind of base as it goes along. The dialogue I only read through my first issue, but I need to redo the whole dialogue, which means relettering the whole comic and all that. So Flying Sparks is not quite there. I don't know if I really want to put that as my big comic debut forward. Maybe I want to give that out as like a, now that I'm more thinking about it, I might want to put it out as like a, you know, reward for people who are following me. Here's what I got, enjoy it. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. But I'm actually looking at like a Patreon kind of setup. And I don't know if I have quite the following yet to make that a thing, but I can deliver content faster and build a revenue base in which to pay for comic art so I can keep that going. And that's actually my thought at this point. Is that a reasonable thought? I figure I can, one, maybe give some exclusive video content, some exclusive type of blog content. On top of that, maybe put out a story per month that I can only give to people who are backing. And then as I start rolling in the comic game, I can incorporate finished product of the comics once they come out to people who are backing. And that's my thought on that at the moment, to try to get this done. Now, if you've been following me on Twitter, I am writing a comic. I have one person who's collaborating with me. It's really hard. So on comic collaboration front, artists like to get paid, right? Because they're artists, and it's hard it's hard to make money in the game like this. I've worked with collaborations before, and I've found that like artists are typically good for about 8 pages on a collaboration front, but after that they really don't, they lose like that energy of like the excitement for the new project, and it kind of goes down and it gets a little tough. So it's really hard to collaborate. You really have to offer that money incentive to get a good project done. And I don't want to have multiple artists going through a project. I want the consistency of the story to look the same whenever I put a story out. So I'd rather just pay, and I'd rather have it look professional, because at this stage of the game, I'm not looking to put up amateur product, right? So that's the thought on that. More revenue on that front means I could put out more content faster, means I could put out more stories faster. And I don't mind doing like a serial or a short story extra. I could knock that out in a couple days for people who are going to be supportive on that front. So I can give a little of everything on every different media, is the thought. But yeah, the comics game's really interesting. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't read the right artists before, and now that I've got a little following or whatever, it'll be a little different. But I'm very wary of artists being able to do a long-term, like 110-page graphic novel project and keep it going. It's very hard to find somebody who has that level of commitment, even paid. Even paid, it's really hard. So I don't know what the plan exactly is yet, but that's why I'm brainstorming right now. So I am working on a comic, like I said. It's called Clockwork Dancer, and it's actually a late 1800s Victorian steampunk alt history. So I've actually got I'm doing a steampunk that's actually historically in the world for that. And I'm almost finished writing the first issue. I've mapped it out for 4 issues, and it might split to 5 just because it's a little dense in issue 2 and issue 3. So that's what I'm looking at. We're gonna try on that front to get an entire issue done first, see what the response is, see if people are into it before continuing, because like I said, she's collaborating, so I don't want to pin her down on this project that's not going to make her money if it's not. But it's really fun. I'm having so much fun with it, and I think I've come up with a pretty great story, and I love her art. Her art is really good. I'm excited to share her steampunk concepts with you. So I'm starting to get that going, starting to kind of do 2 or 3 things at once. On the novels front, I made a decision not to release the Stars Entwined, which is my big space opera universe I've been wanting to launch for a long time. I'm not going to launch it this year because we're kind of getting too tight on proofreading and getting too tight on art time for the cover. So I'm going to put that out probably February next year at this point. And I've got a second book in that universe. I did something weird. I wrote kind of like an overlapping story, which kind of, there's like a human and an alien side that's fighting in this war. And the Stars Entwined really spends a lot of time on the frontier and at the alien front. And so I wrote one kind of from Earth's perspective, like on Earth, like civilians watching it from Earth sort of thing. And so it ties in and it gives you a really broad, a better world building bit for that. So I'll probably get that out next year too. I also finished my Deus Vult in Space novel, which is Space Templars just kicking butt with laser swords. That's written. I need to edit both the two books I've mentioned. So those are done, in the can. I probably should start editing while I'm writing my NaNoWriMo National Novel Writing Month book here. All right, is anybody else here writing for National Novel Writing Month? I think Tanuki, you said you were, right? That's I'm totally on top of that. So I look at that as my job now. My primary job. Yeah, you should. Jed, get on it. You can start now. Just do it on your own terms, and just say, I'm gonna write. What is it? November 8th, 9th. Just say I'm gonna write 30,000 words for the rest of the month. That's my goal, and we're just gonna do it. And just start now. Why not? So, anything you do to kind of flex your creative muscles, you'll be able to get more of it going. But I'm very lazy when it comes to editing. I've got, like I said, I've got how many books in the queue? I've got 2 full novels done, just waiting on editing, just because I haven't wanted to do it. Well, to be fair, I spent most of this year on The Stars Entwine because that was my first novel, and I started writing it when I was about 17, 18. And I wrote on real paper. They used to have a thing called paper and pens, and people used to write down things. And I did that, and then I transferred it to a Word document in like 2004, 2005. That's about right? And started writing it, and I finished it. I finished my first draft 2011, sat on it a couple years, did a second draft, and I was gonna just like clean it up and put it out, but my second draft was bad. So I spent most of this year just rewriting that book from scratch, which I called editing, but I tore it to shreds and completely redid it. So I'm really burnt out on editing, and I did that with For Steam and Country too. When Star Realms became a hit, I worked on my. I went back through For Steam and Country and kind of tore it apart and redid it too. So I guess I did a lot of editing this year, but I don't like it. It's not fun. I'd rather just, I've got new ideas in my head that I want to get out, and that's the struggle, right? But you can't get a good product without putting in the good work. There are no shortcuts around it. There's no easy way to do it. I found that out the hard way. And I think I found that out with Flying Sparks as I've gone back through that. I didn't edit those scripts at all. I just kind of put them up, on the comic. And, I sent it to Vox Day. I showed it to him, and he's like, dude, this stuff's a lot more amateur than your other work that I've read. And I said, yeah, it is. So that's because I was an amateur then. But yeah, I'm trying to get more out, trying to do it faster, trying to do it better. And I'm open to ideas. If there's something you guys want to see and want to see my process and want to see how it works, or just want to see something, if you demand anything, I listen, because you're the people I'm writing to. So let me know. That's everything that I've got going on right now. Oh yeah, For Steam and Country audiobook. Practice makes better, right? Same with editing. It's everything. Practice is really good. And hey, I was in a baseball camp when I was a kid, and Dave Dravecki, if you remember him, he was a Giants pitcher. He was there, and he gave us kind of a pep talk. And I loved Dave Dravecki growing up. He had an autobiography about what he went through, and definitely worth reading. That's a tearjerker right there. He had a rough go at it for a bit, but he gave a pretty good thing on the whole practice makes perfect, and had a different take on it, which was pretty cool. And I remembered it forever. That it's not practice that makes perfect; it's perfect practice that makes perfect. So you have to practice your A game, and you have to come at practice as if it's your A game every time, or it's not actually pushing you to be better. So that's something interesting to think about. It's a bit esoteric, but I think it's applicable also. So that's it for Steam and Country audiobook. The first chapter just got done. I just got the audio this morning. It sounds phenomenal. I'm so excited. So as I go through National Novel Writing Month, writing book 2 of that series, there will be some updates, and hopefully I'll be able to get this out on audio and get everybody excited for it so we can release it. I don't know my release schedule at this point. It's there's too much up in the air with Alt Hero, and when all that's due is probably gonna be more important than most of my other stuff. So cool, that's it. That's all I got today. Thank you for listening to me ramble. It was complete rambling. I had nothing. But that's an insight into just kind of how I plan my business of doing this. And we'll have a lot more in the future. We're going to have some exciting things coming up. Like I said, I think I'm going to start putting up that Patreon. I'm a little nervous about doing that, but I'm a little nervous about everything I do. So we'll see if that works, and we'll see if we can get comic art going for everybody. And we'll talk to you soon.